Victory begins in the mind. If you cannot command your thoughts, you will never command the battlefield. The world isn't conquered with noise, it's conquered with silence, strategy, and unshakable discipline. Most people rush into chaos without a plan. But those who dominate, they move like shadows, calm, calculated, unseen. Sun Tzu taught that the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. That begins by mastering yourself. This video is your war map to complete domination. Of self, of mind, of mission. Subscribe to our channel if you're ready to master your mind. And tell us, where are you watching from? Victory begins in the mind. If you cannot command your thoughts, you will never command the battlefield. The world isn't conquered with noise, it's conquered with silence, strategy, and unshakable discipline. Most people rush into chaos without a plan, but those who dominate, they move like shadows, calm, calculated, unseen. I taught that the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. That begins by mastering yourself. This video is your war map to complete domination of self, of mind, of mission. Let me tell you something most people will never understand. The greatest battle you'll ever fight isn't against your competitors, your circumstances, or even your critics. It's against the untamed chaos within your own mind. I've studied thousands of warriors across centuries. Do you know what separates the victorious from the vanquished? It's not strength. It's not resources. It's not even strategy, though strategy is essential. It's their relationship with their own weaknesses. Here's what most don't understand. Every morning when you open your eyes, you're entering a battlefield. Your first opponent? The voice that tells you to stay in bed. Your second? The urge to check your phone, to let the world's chaos infiltrate your mind before you've established your battle formation. The modern warrior faces enemies that are far more subtle than clashing swords and charging armies. Your enemies are distraction, doubt, and the soft comforts that make you weak. But these enemies serve a purpose. They reveal where your fortress needs reinforcement. Think of your mind as a territory. Right now, there are regions under your control and regions in rebellion. Some thoughts serve you, others sabotage you. Some habits strengthen your position, others create vulnerabilities your enemies will exploit. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you took inventory of your mental territory? When did you last map out the landscapes of your fears, your doubts, your untapped potential? Most people never make this map. They live in their mental territory like a peasant, not a general. They react to invasions of negative thoughts, rather than fortifying their borders. They let their attention be raided by any distraction that appears on the horizon. But you're different. You're here because something in you recognizes that mastery begins with honest assessment. The superior warrior isn't the one without weaknesses. It's the one who knows their weaknesses intimately. Your first task in this war is simple but profound. Become the cartographer of your own mind. Map every territory, name every enemy, document every resource. Where do you lose battles most often? Where does your focus falter? Which thoughts send your troops into retreat? This isn't just self-reflection, it's tactical reconnaissance. Every moment of self-awareness is intelligence gathering. Every acknowledgement of weakness is marking a target for future conquest. Remember, in war, the battle is won before it's ever fought. By knowing yourself, truly knowing yourself, you've already achieved a victory most will never even attempt. But knowing isn't enough. Knowledge without action is like a sword without a warrior. Useless potential. You must establish forward operating bases in your mind. Create checkpoints of awareness throughout your day. Monitor your mental borders with the vigilance of a garrison commander. Start with the morning. The first hour of your day is either a victory or a defeat that echoes through everything that follows. Establish a morning ritual that fortifies your mind. Meditation, exercise, strategic planning, these aren't just habits. They're military drills preparing you for the day's battles. Then, move to your responses. When challenges arise, and they will arise, observe your tactical patterns. Do you retreat into distraction, Attack with unthinking anger? Freeze in the face of uncertainty? Each reaction is a battle report. Study it, learn from it, adjust your strategy accordingly. The war within requires patience. You won't conquer every negative thought in a day. You won't establish complete dominion over your habits in a week. But with each small victory, with each moment of chosen discipline over momentary comfort, you strengthen your position. Remember this, every great warrior in history began exactly where you are now, facing internal enemies, confronting personal weaknesses, choosing the harder path of self-mastery over the easier path of self-deception. Your weakness is not your enemy, it's your map. Your doubts are not your defeats, they're your drilling grounds. Your fears are not your failures, they're your first campaigns. The war begins within, and it begins now. Are you ready to take command? The ancient art of war teaches us this truth. What you will not name, you will never conquer. Think about that. Let it sink into your consciousness like a blade into soft earth. The enemies you refuse to acknowledge are the ones that will ultimately defeat you. In my years of studying warfare, I've observed a peculiar tendency among those who fail. They rush to battle without knowing what, or who, they're truly fighting. They mistake symptoms for enemies, shadows for soldiers, and distractions for genuine threats. Here's what most people don't understand. Weakness isn't what you think it is. It's not the absence of strength. It's the presence of untapped power. Every fear you harbor, every doubt that plagues your mind, every moment of hesitation, these aren't signs of inadequacy. They're reservoirs of potential energy waiting to be converted into force. Let me ask you this. What makes you flinch? What thoughts keep you awake in the darkness of night? What challenges make you want to retreat before the battle even begins? Don't turn away from these questions. Don't shield your eyes from these truths. In warfare, both internal and external, clear sight is everything. Your mind is masterful at deception, not just deceiving others, but deceiving itself. It creates elaborate fortifications of excuses, builds moats of justification around your limitations, and stations guards of comfort to keep you from confronting what needs to be confronted. Think of your weaknesses as an opposing army. Would you rather face an enemy you can see clearly, whose positions you've mapped, whose strategies you've studied? Or would you prefer to fight an invisible force, striking from shadows you refuse to illuminate? The tactical process of self-identification begins with brutal honesty. Take out your mental scroll and begin the inventory. Your fears, name them one by one. Not just the surface fears, but the deep ones, the ones that make your heart race. Your breath shallow, your spirit want to retreat. Write them down with the precision of a military scribe. Your anger, map its triggers. What situations cause you to lose tactical advantage? When does emotion override strategy? These are the weak points in your fortress wall. Your laziness, track its patterns. When do you choose comfort over conquest? What tasks do you avoid? These are the battles you're losing before you even engage. Your insecurities, list them all. What makes you doubt your command? What causes you to question your authority? These are the spies in your camp, feeding intelligence to your enemies. But remember this, naming your enemies isn't about shame, it's about strategy. Every great commander throughout history has begun their campaign with a clear assessment of the battlefield. Your mind is your battlefield. These weaknesses you're naming, they're not your identity. They're your first targets. The process of identification requires courage. It demands that you stand in front of the mirror of truth without flinching, without turning away, without softening what you see with excuses or justifications. This is not comfortable work, but comfort has never won wars. Most people will never do this inventory. They'll live their entire lives in denial of their weaknesses and thus remain forever vulnerable to them. They'll be ambushed by their own unnamed fears, sabotaged by their own unacknowledged doubts, defeated by enemies they refuse to recognize. But you're not most people. You're here because something in you recognizes that true power begins with truth. That real strength starts with the courage to see yourself clearly, completely, without the filters of ego or the blindfolds of denial. As you name these enemies, something remarkable begins to happen. They begin to lose their power. What was once a formless shadow becoming a clear target. What was once an overwhelming force becomes a measurable opponent. What was once a source of shame becomes a source of intelligence. Consider this. Every great victory in military history began with clear intelligence. Every successful campaign started with accurate maps, detailed enemy assessments, and thorough understanding of the battlefield. Your internal war is no different. The process of naming your weaknesses is not a one-time battle. It's an ongoing campaign. Your mind will try to hide things from you. New weaknesses will emerge. Old ones will try to disguise themselves. This is why you must maintain constant vigilance, regular self-assessment, and unflinching honesty. Your mission now is clear. Become the master strategist of your own mind. Name every enemy, map every battlefield, document every skirmish. Let nothing remain in shadow. Remember, what you name, you can conquer. What you face, you can fight. What you acknowledge, you can overcome. The time for hiding from your weaknesses is over. The era of denial ends now. Take up your pen, warrior. Begin the inventory. Your empire of self-mastery awaits its emperor. In the ancient scrolls of warfare, there exists a truth that most warriors never grasp. Awareness of weakness is not defeat. It is the foundation of invincibility. Listen carefully, because what I'm about to share contradicts everything society has taught you about power. The masses live in perpetual performance. They paint themselves with false strength, cover their wounds with bravado, mask their uncertainties with noise. But tell me this, has a soldier ever become bulletproof by pretending he cannot bleed? Here's what most people don't understand. True power doesn't begin with strength. It begins with absolute clarity about where you're weak. Think of the greatest generals in history. Do you imagine they succeeded by ignoring their vulnerabilities? By pretending their defenses had no gaps? By assuming their strategies had no flaws? No. They won because they knew exactly where they could be defeated. I've watched armies fall because their commanders refused to acknowledge their limitations. I've seen empires crumble because their leaders confused confidence with invulnerability. The greatest defeats in history weren't caused by weakness. They were caused by the arrogance of thinking you had none. Let me ask you this. What if your weaknesses weren't your shame, but your greatest intelligence assets? What if every flaw, every fear, every moment of hesitation was actually a military advisor, showing you exactly where you need to fortify your position? Most people spend their entire lives running from their weaknesses. They build elaborate fortifications of denial. They surround themselves with mercenaries of positive thinking. They wage war against their own awareness. But here's the fatal flaw in that strategy. What you refuse to see can still destroy you. The superior warrior takes a different approach. They turn their awareness into a weapon. They study their weaknesses with the same intensity a general studies enemy formations. They map their limitations like a strategist maps terrain. They don't seek to hide their vulnerabilities. They seek to understand them completely. This is where true dominance begins. Not in pretending to be invincible, but in becoming intimately acquainted with every gap in your armor, every flaw in your strategy, every weakness in your position. Think of it this way. Your awareness is like a scout moving through the territory of your mind. When the scout returns with reports of weakness, do you execute them for bearing bad news? Do you cover your ears and pretend you didn't hear? Or do you lean in, ask for details, demand precise intelligence? The power of knowing you are weak lies in the strategic advantage it gives you. When you know where you can be defeated, you can fortify those positions before your enemy discovers them. Transform vulnerable points into trapdoors for the overconfident channel your resources. Exactly where they're needed most. Move with the calculated precision of someone who knows their true position. But this awareness requires courage. It demands that you stand in front of the mirror of truth and look directly at what most people spend their lives avoiding. This is not comfortable work. This is not the path of temporary pleasure or instant gratification. This is the path of the warrior who understands that true power comes from truth, not illusion. Real strength emerges from facing reality, not hiding from it. Consider the bamboo. It knows it can bend, so it survives the storms that shatter mighty oaks. The flexible reed acknowledges its weakness, and in doing so, discovers its invincibility. This is not poetry. This is strategy. Your weakness, once acknowledged, becomes your compass. Every time you feel fear, that's intelligence about where you need to train harder. Every time you feel insecurity, that's tactical data about where you need to build strength. Every time you feel inadequate, that's strategic information about where you need to focus your resources. This is how you turn self-awareness into sovereignty. This is how you transform knowledge of weakness into unshakable power. But remember this: awareness without action is just sophisticated weakness. Knowledge without implementation is merely comfortable defeat. The superior warrior doesn't just know their weaknesses, they use that knowledge to design their path to power. Start viewing your weaknesses as military intelligence. Each one is a report from the front lines of your potential. Each limitation is a blueprint for your next campaign. Each fear is a marker on your map to mastery. The world is full of people strong enough to lift heavy weights, but too weak to lift the veil of their own delusions. Full of warriors brave enough to face external enemies, but too cowardly to face themselves. Full of leaders powerful enough to command armies, but too afraid to confront their own limitations. But you're different. You're here because something in you recognizes that the ultimate power lies in ultimate truth. That real strength begins with the courage to see yourself exactly as you are, not as you wish to be, not as you pretend to be, but as you are. This is where your true campaign begins. Not in the realm of fantasy where you have no weaknesses, but in the realm of reality, where you can finally turn those weaknesses into weapons. Remember, the warrior who knows where they can be defeated becomes truly undefeatable. The leader who understands their limitations becomes truly limitless. The mind that accepts its weaknesses becomes truly strong. Your awareness is not your enemy. It's your greatest ally in the war for self-mastery. Embrace it, sharpen it, use it. There exists a force more powerful than any weapon, more decisive than any strategy, more transformative than any training. It's a force most warriors run from, yet it contains the seeds of their greatest power. That force? Shame. Here's what most people don't understand. Shame is not your enemy. It's your arsenal, waiting to be weaponized. Every moment of embarrassment, every memory that makes you flinch, every failure that haunts you, these are not your weaknesses. They are your warrior's forge. Think about this. What makes you look away? What memories do you bury? What parts of yourself do you hide from the world? Now imagine if instead of running from these aspects, you turn to face them, not with judgment, but with the cold calculation of a strategic master. Society has programmed you to avoid shame at all costs, to hide your failures, to mask your uncertainties, to present an image of unshakable confidence. But tell me this, has any great victory in history ever been achieved by running from reality? The superior warrior understands that shame is simply unprocessed intelligence. Every moment of embarrassment is a data point. Every failure is a battle report. Every aspect of yourself that you hide, these are not your weaknesses. They are your untapped resources. Let me ask you this. What if your shame was actually a tactical advantage waiting to be deployed? What if those very things you try to hide could become the source of your greatest strength? Consider this. The aspects of yourself that make you most uncomfortable are often the very areas where you have the most potential for growth. Your shame points directly to your next conquest. Your embarrassment illuminates your path to power. But to harness this force, you must first understand its nature. Shame is not what you've been told it is. It's not a punishment. It's not a judgment. It's not even a weakness. Shame is simply the gap between who you are and who you know you could be. This gap is not your enemy. It's your map. Every time you feel shame, ask yourself, what is this emotion telling me about my untapped potential? What opportunity for growth is this discomfort illuminating? What battle am I avoiding by running from this feeling? The process of converting shame into strategy requires systematic approach. First, you must identify your sources of shame with military precision. Don't hide from them. Don't soften them. Don't justify them. Document them with the cold clarity of a battlefield reporter. Next, analyze these sources of shame for their strategic value. Is your shame about public speaking? That's not weakness. That's an indicator of untapped leadership potential. Shame about your physical condition? That's not failure. That's your body's intelligence reporting areas that need reinforcement. Then, convert each source of shame into a specific action plan. Don't deal in vague intentions. Create concrete, tactical responses to each area of discomfort. Your shame about public speaking becomes a daily practice of vocal exercises. Your physical shame becomes a detailed training protocol. But remember, the goal is not to eliminate shame. The goal is to transform it from a paralyzing force into a motivating one. From a weight that holds you down into a fuel that drives you forward. Think of it this way. Every great warrior throughout history has faced moments of shame, the difference between the victorious and the defeated. The victorious used their shame as fuel. They didn't try to hide their scars. They turned them into medals of honor. Your shame has been trying to tell you something. It's been pointing to the areas where you have the most potential for growth. Every time you feel that burning sensation of embarrassment, that's not a signal to retreat. It's a signal to advance. This is where most people fail. They spend their lives running from their shame, building elaborate defenses against it, trying to numb it with distractions and excuses. But you're going to do something different. You're going to turn and face it. You're going to study it. You're going to use it. The process is simple, but it requires courage. Face your shame directly. Name it, document it, understand it, analyze its message. What is this discomfort trying to tell you? Convert that message into a battle plan. Specific actions, concrete steps. Execute with discipline. No excuses, no delays, no retreat. Your shame is not your identity. It's your intelligence service. It's constantly gathering data about where you need to grow, where you need to strengthen, where you need to focus your resources. The world is full of warriors who are physically strong but emotionally weak. Full of leaders who can command others but can't face themselves. Full of fighters who can conquer territories but can't confront their own shame. But you're about to become something different, something more powerful, something truly unstoppable. Because you understand that real power doesn't come from avoiding shame. It comes from transforming it. Remember, what makes you flinch can become your firepower. What makes you uncomfortable can become your armor. What makes you ashamed can become your greatest source of strength. The time for running from your shame is over. The era of hiding from your discomfort ends now. Take up your sword, warrior. Your shame is not your enemy. It's your ally in the war for self-mastery. Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you about pain. Not the simple pain of physical training, though that has its place, but the deeper pain that most spend their lives trying to escape. The pain of loss, of failure, of betrayal, of defeat. Here's what most people don't understand. Pain is not punishment, it's preparation. Every scar you carry, every defeat that haunts you, every loss that keeps you awake at night, these are not your burdens. They are your armory. In ancient warfare, we understood something that modern minds have forgotten. Suffering carries intelligence. Every wound contains a lesson. Every defeat holds the seeds of future victory. Every moment of pain is a message from the battlefield of life, telling you exactly where you need to become stronger. Think about the pain you carry right now, the rejections that still sting, the failures that still shame you, the losses that still wake you in the cold hours of night. Now imagine if instead of trying to escape these memories, you studied them with the precision of a military strategist. Let me ask you this. What if your pain wasn't your enemy, but your most loyal teacher? What if every moment of suffering wasn't a curse, but a combat drill preparing you for greater battles ahead? The superior warrior doesn't seek to eliminate pain. They seek to understand it, to decode its messages, to extract its wisdom. Think of pain as intelligence gathered from the front lines of your life. Every heartbreak is a report on your vulnerabilities. Every failure is a map of where your defenses need strengthening. But most people never receive this intelligence. They're too busy running from their pain, numbing it with distractions, drowning it in comfortable lies. They treat pain like an enemy to be avoided rather than an ally to be understood. Consider this. Throughout history, the greatest warriors weren't those who felt no pain. They were those who learned to decode its language. They understood that pain is simply information traveling at the speed of awareness. When you're wounded in battle, pain tells you where you've been hit. When you're defeated in life, pain shows you where you need to grow stronger. This isn't philosophy. This is strategy. The process of weaponizing pain begins with a fundamental shift in perspective. Stop seeing your suffering as something to escape. Start seeing it as intelligence to be gathered. Every moment of pain contains critical data. What exactly triggered this pain? Not the surface cause, but the deep vulnerability it exposed. What weakness did this pain reveal? Not just the obvious ones, but the hidden flaws in your defensive positions. What lesson is this pain trying to teach you? Not the simple moral, but the strategic insight it contains. This is where most warriors fail. They either try to bury their pain under layers of false strength, or they let it consume them entirely. Both approaches waste the strategic value of suffering. The superior approach is this. Treat your pain like a captured enemy messenger. Interrogate it. Extract every piece of intelligence it carries. Force it to reveal its secrets. When you face rejection, don't just feel the pain, analyze it. What exactly hurt? Was it the rejection itself, or the story you told yourself about what that rejection meant? This isn't emotional processing. This is tactical assessment. When you experience failure, don't just suffer through it. Study it. Break it down with military precision. What exactly went wrong? What assumptions proved false? What preparations were inadequate? This isn't wallowing. This is warfare intelligence gathering. When you feel betrayal, don't just endure it. Examine it. What signs did you miss? What weaknesses in your judgment were exposed? What strategic adjustments does this intelligence require? This isn't victim thinking. This is warrior wisdom. Your pain is trying to tell you something. Every sleepless night, every moment of regret, every flash of shame, these are not your enemies. They are your combat instructors, teaching you exactly what you need to learn to become unstoppable. Think of it this way. A sword is forged in fire. A warrior is forged in pain, but only if they understand that the fire isn't trying to destroy them, it's trying to transform them. The world is full of people who run from their pain, who numb it, who hide from it. But you're going to do something different. You're going to turn and face it. You're going to study it. You're going to use it. The process is systematic. Face your pain directly. Don't minimize it. Don't excuse it. Experience it fully. Extract its intelligence. What exactly is this pain telling you about yourself, about your strategies, about your preparations? Convert that intelligence into action, specific changes, concrete adjustments, tactical improvements. Test these changes in the field. Pain is your training ground, not your burial ground. Remember this, pain is not your enemy. It's your reconnaissance team. It's constantly gathering intelligence about where you're vulnerable, where you need to strengthen your position, where you need to adjust your strategy. The time for running from your pain is over. The era of numbing your suffering ends now. Take up your sword, warrior. Your pain is not your punishment. It's your preparation for greatness. Every scar is a medal of honor. Every defeat is a lesson in victory. Every moment of pain is a step toward power. This is how you become unstoppable, not by avoiding pain, but by transforming it into power, not by escaping suffering, but by extracting its wisdom, not by hiding from your wounds, but by turning them into weapons. Your pain is not your weakness, it's your warfare academy. Enroll in its lessons, study its wisdom, graduate with honors. Let us speak of fear, not the simple fear that makes your heart race, though that has its place, but the deeper fear that shapes your every decision, the fear that makes you hesitate when opportunity calls, the fear that whispers, "Not yet," when destiny demands, "Now." Here's what most people don't understand. Fear is not your enemy. It's your fuel source, waiting to be converted into unstoppable momentum. Every moment of hesitation, every flash of doubt, every instinct to retreat, these are not your weaknesses. They are your power plant. In the ancient arts of war, we understood something that modern minds have forgotten. Fear carries energy, massive amounts of it. The same force that can freeze you in place can, when properly channeled, launch you forward with unstoppable force. Think about what makes you afraid right now. The challenges you avoid, the conversations you postpone, the dreams you keep silent. Now imagine if instead of letting that fear paralyze you, you learn to harness its energy like a master strategist. Let me ask you this. What if your fear wasn't a wall blocking your path, but a reservoir of power waiting to be tapped? What if every moment of terror wasn't a signal to retreat, but a signal that you're facing exactly the direction you need to go? The superior warrior doesn't seek to eliminate fear. They seek to harness it, to direct its energy, to convert its power. Think of fear as a form of compressed potential, like a coiled spring or a drawn bow. The same force that holds you back can propel you forward if you know how to release it. But most people never learn this art. They spend their lives running from their fears, hiding from their potential, seeking the false comfort of certainty. They treat fear like an enemy to be avoided rather than an ally to be enlisted. Consider this. Throughout history, the greatest warriors weren't those who felt no fear. They were those who learned to convert fear into focused aggression. They understood that fear is simply energy traveling at the speed of survival. When a soldier first enters battle, fear floods their system. The untrained warrior lets this force paralyze them. The superior warrior converts it into heightened awareness, enhanced performance, unstoppable drive. The process of converting fear into fuel begins with a fundamental shift in perception. Stop seeing your fear as a warning to retreat. Start seeing it as a signal to advance. Every fear contains critical energy. The fear of failure? That's the energy of perfectionism, waiting to be converted into excellence. The fear of rejection? That's the force of connection waiting to be transformed into magnetic confidence. The fear of inadequacy? That's the power of growth waiting to be channeled into unstoppable improvement. This is where most warriors fail. They either try to fight their fear head-on, wasting energy in resistance, or they let it dictate their actions, surrendering their power entirely. Both approaches waste the strategic value of fear. The superior approach is this. Treat your fear like a wild horse. Don't try to kill it. Don't run from it. Tame it. Harness it. Ride it into battle. When you feel fear before speaking up, don't just endure it. Harness it. Let it sharpen your focus. Let it fuel your voice. Let it energize your words. This isn't just facing fear. This is weaponizing it. When you feel fear before taking action, don't just push through it. Channel it. Convert the nervous energy into decisive movement. Transform the anxiety into aggressive execution. This isn't just courage. This is energy conversion. When you feel fear before a challenge, don't just overcome it, utilize it. Let it heighten your senses. Let it accelerate your reactions. Let it intensify your preparation. This isn't just bravery. This is tactical advantage. Your fear is trying to energize you. Every racing heartbeat, every moment of doubt, every surge of anxiety, these are not your enemies. They are your power sources, offering you the exact energy you need to become unstoppable. Think of it this way. A weapon is only dangerous when loaded. Fear is your ammunition, but only if you understand that it's not trying to stop you. It's trying to propel you. The world is full of people who run from their fears, who hide from them, who let them dictate their lives. But you're going to do something different. You're going to turn and face them. You're going to harness them. You're going to ride them into battle. The process is methodical. Face your fear directly. Don't minimize it. Don't rationalize it. Feel its full force. Identify its energy signature. What exactly is this fear offering you? Enhanced focus, heightened awareness, intensified drive? Convert that energy into action, specific movements, concrete steps, tactical advances. Channel it forward. Fear is your fuel source, not your parking brake. Remember this. Fear is not your enemy. It's your energy reserve. It's constantly offering you the exact power you need to break through barriers, to shatter limitations, to achieve what others consider impossible. The time for running from your fear is over. The era of letting it control you ends now. Take up your sword, warrior. Your fear is not your weakness. It's your warfare energy source. Every moment of terror is a surge of power. Every flash of doubt is a burst of fuel. Every instant of fear is an opportunity for unstoppable momentum. This is how you become indomitable. Not by lacking fear, but by converting it into force. Not by avoiding it, but by channeling it. Not by fighting it, but by riding it into battle. Your fear is not your limitation. It's your launching pad. Harness its power, direct its force, ride it to victory. In the annals of warfare, there exists a truth that separates the victorious from the vanquished. The undisciplined warrior drowns in their own emotions, while the superior commander rises above them. This isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about commanding them with the precision of a general commanding their troops. Here's what most people don't understand. Emotion isn't your identity. It's your intelligence network. But like any intelligence, it must be verified, analyzed, and strategically acted upon. Not every report from the field demands an immediate response. Not every emotional surge requires immediate action. Think of your emotions as an army of messengers, each arriving at the gates of your mind with urgent reports. The untrained warrior reacts to each message as if it were an emergency. The superior warrior receives each report with calm discernment, understanding that not every message requires mobilization. Let me ask you this. How often have your emotions led you into battles you shouldn't have fought? How many times has anger made you strike too soon, fear made you retreat too early, or excitement made you advance without proper preparation? The superior warrior understands that emotions are like weather on the battlefield. They provide important information, but they shouldn't dictate strategy. You don't change your entire battle plan because of a momentary storm. You don't abandon your position because of temporary darkness, but most people live at the mercy of their emotional weather. They attack when angry, retreat when afraid, celebrate before victory is secured. They let their moods dictate their movements, their feelings determine their strategy. This is the path to defeat. Consider this. Throughout history, battles have been lost not because of superior enemy force, but because commanders let emotion override strategy. Anger leads to rash advances. Fear triggers premature retreats. Excitement causes tactical oversight. The process of establishing discipline over emotion begins with a fundamental shift in hierarchy. Your feelings are not your commanders. They are your advisors. They provide information, but they don't give orders. The final command always rests with your disciplined mind. This is where most warriors fail. They either try to fight their emotions completely, creating inner civil war, or they surrender to them entirely, becoming slaves to every passing mood. Both approaches guarantee defeat. The superior approach is this: Establish a chain of command. In your mind, emotions report to reason. Reason reports to strategy. Strategy serves your ultimate mission. When anger arrives, don't just act on it, analyze it. What triggered this response? What action is this emotion suggesting? Does this action align with your strategic objectives? What would disciplined response now look like? When fear appears, don't just react to it. Examine it. What intelligence is this emotion providing? What response is it recommending? How does this align with your broader strategy? What would calculated action look like here? When excitement emerges, don't just write it, evaluate it. What opportunities is this emotion highlighting? What risks might it be obscuring? How does this serve your long-term objectives? What would measured advancement look like? Think of it this way. A general who reacts to every scout's report without verification soon leads their army into ambush. Your emotions are scouts, valuable but not infallible. They require verification, analysis, and strategic integration. The superior warrior develops a system for processing emotional intelligence. Reception. Acknowledge the emotion without immediate action. Analysis. Examine the intelligence it provides. Strategic integration. Determine if and how this information serves your objectives. Disciplined response. Execute based on strategy, not emotional urgency. This isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming emotionally disciplined. The difference is crucial. An emotionless warrior lacks intelligence from the field. An emotionally disciplined warrior has full intelligence but maintains strategic command. Here's the tactical approach to emotional discipline. First, establish your command center, a mental space where you can receive emotional intelligence without being overwhelmed by it. This might be through meditation, through strategic pauses, through practiced breathing. Next, develop your analysis protocol. When emotions arrive, put them through strategic questioning. What exactly is this emotion telling me? How reliable is this intelligence? What assumptions is it based on? How does this serve my ultimate objective? Then, create your response hierarchy. Immediate threats require immediate response. Tactical opportunities require strategic evaluation. Emotional storms require disciplined patience. Strategic objectives override emotional urgency. Finally, maintain your disciplined position. Like a general on the battlefield, you must stay above the chaos to maintain strategic command. Your emotions may surge like waves, but you remain like the lighthouse, steady, unmoved, illuminating the way forward. Remember, this emotion without discipline is like an army without a commander, powerful but directionless. Discipline without emotion is like a commander without intelligence, strategic but blind. The superior warrior combines both. The world is full of people who are slaves to their emotions, who let their moods dictate their actions, who surrender their sovereignty to every passing feeling. But you're becoming something different, something more powerful, something truly unstoppable. Because you understand that true power isn't in having no emotions. It's in commanding them with discipline. It's not in feeling nothing. It's in feeling everything but choosing your response with strategic precision. Your emotions are not your masters. They are your military intelligence network. Receive their reports. Analyze their intelligence. Command with discipline. Execute with precision. The time for emotional reactivity is over. The era of mood-based strategy ends now. Take up your command, warrior. Your emotions are not your leaders. They are your soldiers, waiting to be directed by your disciplined mind. Let us speak of the most insidious enemy you'll ever face, the mental loop, not the simple distraction that passes like clouds overhead, but the recursive patterns of thought that trap warriors in cycles of inaction, doubt, and defeat. These are the siege weapons your mind uses against itself. Here's what most people don't understand. Mental loops aren't just thoughts. They're tactical formations your mind has learned to deploy against itself. Rumination, overthinking, self-doubt. These aren't random occurrences. They're practiced maneuvers that become more entrenched with each repetition. In ancient warfare, we understood that an army caught in a predictable pattern becomes vulnerable to defeat. The same is true of your mind. When your thoughts move in circles, they create worn paths that become trenches of limitation. Think about your current mental loops. The same worries that circle like vultures. The same doubts that echo like footsteps in an empty hall. The same self-defeating patterns that replay like a strategy gone wrong. Now imagine if instead of being trapped by these patterns, you learn to break them with tactical precision. Let me ask you this. What if your mental loops weren't just habits to break, but intelligence about where your mind needs strategic reinforcement? What if every recursive thought pattern was actually showing you exactly where to deploy your countermeasures? The superior warrior understands that mental loops are like enemy siege formations. They can only maintain their position if you keep supplying them with resources. Cut off their supply lines, and even the strongest thought patterns must retreat. But most people never learn this art. They try to fight their thoughts directly, not realizing that resistance often strengthens the very patterns they're trying to break. They engage in mental warfare without understanding the terrain of their own mind. Consider this. Throughout history, the most effective way to break a siege wasn't to attack it head-on, but to disrupt its supply lines, change the terrain, or introduce unexpected elements that make the old formation impossible to maintain. The process of breaking mental loops begins with strategic recognition. You must first understand the pattern before you can disrupt it. Identify the trigger point, what initiates the loop. Map the pattern. How does it maintain itself? Locate the fuel source. What keeps it running? Find the weak points. Where is it most vulnerable to disruption? This is where most warriors fail. They either try to suppress their thoughts through brute force, or they surrender to them completely, accepting their loops as permanent features of their mental landscape. Both approaches guarantee continued siege. The superior approach is this. Treat your mental loops like enemy formations that need to be strategically dismantled, not through direct confrontation, but through tactical disruption. When rumination begins, don't fight the thoughts. Disrupt their formation. Change your physical state through movement. Redirect your mental resources to tactical challenges. Deploy pattern-breaking rituals that make the old loop impossible to maintain. When overthinking emerges, don't try to think your way out. Change. The battlefield. Shift from mental to physical engagement. Transform abstract worry into concrete action. Convert circular thinking into linear movement. When self-doubt appears, don't argue with it. Outmaneuver it. Execute small, decisive actions that prove it wrong. Create new patterns that make the old doubts irrelevant. Establish strong positions through immediate tactical wins. Think of it this way. A skilled general doesn't just fight the enemy they see, they change the conditions that allow that enemy to maintain their position. Your mental loops are the same. Don't just fight them, make them impossible to maintain. The superior warrior develops a system for pattern disruption. First, establish your recognition protocols. Learn to identify your loops early, before they've fully deployed their forces. The sooner you spot the pattern, the easier it is to disrupt. Next, develop your disruption tactics. Physical pattern breakers, movement exercise, location change. Mental pattern breakers, skill practice, strategic problems, tactical challenges. Emotional pattern breakers, connection, service, purposeful action. Then, create your replacement formations. New thought patterns that serve your objectives. New action patterns that build momentum. New response patterns that maintain tactical advantage. Finally, fortify your new positions. Like a general securing conquered territory, you must establish strong points that prevent the old patterns from retaking ground. Daily rituals that reinforce new patterns. Strategic challenges that demand new thinking, tactical engagements that make old loops obsolete. Remember this, mental loops are not your identity. They're enemy formations that have established positions in your mind. They can be disrupted, They can be outmaneuvered. They can be defeated. The world is full of people who are prisoners of their own mental patterns, who let the same thoughts circle endlessly, who surrender their power to recursive loops of limitation. But you're becoming something different, something more powerful, something truly unstoppable, because you understand that true freedom isn't in having no thoughts. It's in having the tactical ability to break any pattern that doesn't serve your mission. It's not in having a quiet mind. It's in having a strategically directed one. Your mental loops are not your destiny. They're tactical challenges waiting to be overcome. Identify their patterns, disrupt their formations, establish new positions, maintain strategic control. The time for mental imprisonment is over. The era of recursive defeat ends now. Take up your sword, warrior. Your thoughts are not your masters. They're patterns waiting to be broken by your strategic mind. Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you about envy, not the petty jealousy that clouds the minds of common men, but the deep burning sensation that reveals your hidden destiny. This force that most consider a poison can become your most precise compass, pointing directly to your next conquest. Here's what most people don't understand. Envy isn't an emotion, it's intelligence about your unexpressed power. Every pang of jealousy, every moment of comparison, every flash of why them and not me, these are not your weaknesses. They are your war map, marked with exact coordinates of your untapped potential. In the ancient arts of war, we understood something that modern minds have forgotten. Every strong reaction carries strategic intelligence. When you feel envy's bite, it's not showing you what others have. It's showing you what you're ready to claim. Think about what makes you envious right now, the achievements that sting to witness, the success that feels like personal failure, the victories that taste bitter in your mouth. Now, imagine if instead of letting this force poison you, you learn to read it like a military strategist reading enemy positions. Let me ask you this. What if your envy wasn't showing you what you lack, but what you're next in line to achieve? What if every moment of jealousy wasn't a judgment of your inadequacy, but a precise targeting system showing you your next objective? The superior warrior doesn't seek to eliminate envy. They seek to decode it, to extract its intelligence, to convert its burning energy into focused action. Think of envy as your reconnaissance team, constantly scanning the horizon for your next conquest. But most people never receive this intelligence. They're too busy being ashamed of their envy, hiding it, or letting it corrupt their spirit. They treat envy like a character flaw rather than a tactical advantage. Consider this. Throughout history, the greatest achievements weren't born from contentment. They were forged in the fire of, I can do better. They understood that envy is simply ambition without a battle plan. When you see someone achieve something that triggers your envy, don't just feel the burn, study it. What exactly about their achievement speaks to your soul? What specific aspects trigger the strongest reaction? What would it take to claim that territory for yourself? How can you convert this energy into strategic action? This is where most warriors fail. They either try to suppress their envy through false contentment, or they let it corrupt them into bitter resignation. Both approaches waste the strategic value of this force. The superior approach is this: treat your envy like a military scout. Don't deny its reports. Don't let it demoralize you. Extract its intelligence. Use its data to plan your campaign. When you feel envy about someone's success, don't just suffer. Analyze. What specific steps did they take to achieve this? What resources did they leverage? What sacrifices did they make? What tactical advantages did they exploit? This isn't about copying others. It's about using their achievements as tactical intelligence for your own unique campaign. Think of it this way: a general who ignores intelligence about enemy positions because it makes him feel inadequate soon loses the war. Your envy is intelligence about positions you could occupy, territories you could claim, victories you could achieve. The process of converting envy into strategy requires systematic approach. First, Acknowledge your envy without judgment. Like a general receiving reports from the field, you must be willing to hear the intelligence without emotional interference. Next, extract the strategic value. What specific achievement triggers this response? What aspects of it align with your deeper mission? What capabilities would you need to develop? What positions would you need to take? Then, convert that intelligence into action. Specific skills to develop, resources to acquire, positions to claim, battles to engage. Finally, channel the energy. Envy provides tremendous fuel, but like any powerful force, it must be directed with precision. Convert bitter feelings into burning focus. Transform jealous energy into relentless action. Use comparative thoughts as competitive advantage. Remember this: envy is not your enemy, it's your targeting system. It's constantly showing you exactly where to aim your efforts, what territories to claim, what positions to take. The world is full of people who let envy poison them, who hide from it, who shame themselves for feeling it. But you're going to do something different. You're going to use it. You're going to decode it. You're going to ride its energy to victory. The process is methodical. Face your envy directly. Don't minimize it. Don't moralize it. Study it with strategic interest. Extract its intelligence. What exactly is this feeling pointing toward? Convert that intelligence into a battle plan. Specific steps, concrete actions, tactical advances. Channel its energy forward. Envy is your fuel source, not your poison. Your envy is trying to tell you something. Every sting of comparison, every burn of jealousy, every flash of, "that should be me," these are not your shame. They are your strategic briefings showing you exactly where to focus your forces. The time for being ashamed of your envy is over. The era of letting it poison you ends now. Take up your sword, warrior. Your envy is not your weakness, it's your war map to greatness. Every pang of jealousy is a targeting system. Every moment of comparison is a mission briefing. Every flash of envy is an intelligence report from the field. This is how you become unstoppable, not by pretending you don't feel envy, but by using it as your guidance system. Not by rising above it, but by riding it to victory. Not by suppressing it, but by converting it into strategy. Your envy is not your character flaw, it's your tactical advantage. Decode its messages, extract its intelligence, use its energy, claim your territory. Now, let us discuss one of warfare's most powerful principles, the element of surprise. But not as you might expect. We're going to explore how your perceived weaknesses can become your greatest tactical advantage. How what others underestimate in you can become your deadliest weapon. Here's what most people don't understand. Being underestimated isn't a disadvantage. It's a strategic position of immense power. Every time someone dismisses you, overlooks you, or takes you lightly, they're actually giving you the perfect cover for decisive action. In ancient warfare, we understood that appearing weak when you are strong is the height of strategic mastery. Your apparent limitations, your supposed inadequacies, your visible struggles, these aren't your true identity. They're your camouflage. Think about where you're currently being underestimated. The doubters, the dismissive ones, those who've written you off or placed limitations on your potential. Now, imagine if, instead of fighting these perceptions, you learn to use them as tactical cover for your advance. Let me ask you this. What if your perceived weaknesses weren't barriers to your success, but the perfect disguise for your growing? Power? What if every limitation others place on you was actually creating the perfect blind spot for your eventual victory? The superior warrior understands that being underestimated is not an insult. It's a tactical advantage. Think of it as operating behind enemy lines, where your true capabilities remain hidden until the perfect moment to strike. But most people never grasp this principle. They waste energy trying to prove themselves, announcing their intentions, revealing their power before the right moment. They mistake transparency for strength and forfeit the advantage of surprise. Consider this. Throughout history, the most decisive victories weren't won through superior force. They were won through unexpected action from unexpected quarters. The enemy who believes they have you figured out has already begun to lose. The process of using your perceived weaknesses as tactical advantages requires sophisticated understanding. Identify your camouflage. What do others consistently underestimate? About you? What assumptions do they make? What potential do they fail to see? Maintain your cover. Don't waste energy proving them wrong prematurely. Let their assumptions become their vulnerability. Build your strength in silence. Choose your moment. Wait for strategic opportunity. Strike when guards are down. Execute with unexpected precision. This is where most warriors fail. They either become defensive about being underestimated, or they rush to prove their worth before the right moment. Both reactions waste the tactical advantage of surprise. The superior approach is this: treat your perceived weaknesses like a master spy's cover story. Don't defend against others' underestimation. Cultivate it. Use it. Let it become their strategic blindness. When others dismiss your potential, don't argue. Analyze. What opportunities does their blindness create? What movements does their dismissal hide? What advantages does their underestimation give you? Think of it this way. A spy who gets angry about their cover being believable soon blows their mission. Your perceived limitations are your deep cover, creating the perfect conditions for unexpected victory. The superior warrior develops a systematic approach to using underestimation. First, perfect your camouflage. Understand exactly how others underestimate you and learn to move comfortably within that perception. Like a tiger in tall grass, your apparent weakness is your perfect hiding place. Next, build in silence. Develop your capabilities without announcement. Strengthen your position without display. Prepare your strikes without warning. Then cultivate strategic patience. Wait for the perfect moment. Let overconfidence blind them. Allow assumptions to become vulnerability. Finally, execute with precise surprise. Strike from unexpected angles. Deploy hidden capabilities. Transform perceived weakness into sudden strength. Remember this: being underestimated is not your limitation. It's your tactical advantage. It's creating blind spots in your opponent's defenses, gaps in their awareness, weaknesses in their strategy. The world is full of people who exhaust themselves trying to prove their worth, who announce their every move, who forfeit the advantages of surprise through premature display. But you're becoming something different, something more powerful, something truly unstoppable. Because you understand that true power isn't in being constantly recognized, it's in being strategically underestimated. It's not in proving yourself to everyone. It's in revealing your true capability at the perfect moment. Your perceived weaknesses are not your truth. They're your tactical disguise. Use them, cultivate them, strike from within them. The process is precise. Embrace your cover story. Don't fight against others' underestimation. Use it as tactical concealment. Build in darkness. Let your growth be silent, your preparation invisible, your advancement unseen. Wait for tactical advantage. Let their assumptions become their vulnerability. Strike with precision. Transform perceived weakness into unexpected strength. Your limitations in others' eyes are not your prison, they're your perfect cover. Every doubt they harbor is a blind spot you can exploit. Every dismissal is a guard they let down. Every underestimation is a defense they leave unmanned. The time for defending against underestimation is over. The era of premature proof ends now. Take up your position, warrior. Your perceived weaknesses are not your chains. They're your camouflage on the path to victory. Every limitation they see is a blind spot you can't exploit. Every doubt they harbor is a weakness in their defense. Every dismissal is an opportunity for surprise. This is how you become invincible, not by proving yourself to everyone, but by revealing your power at the perfect moment. Not by fighting underestimation, but by using it as tactical cover. Not by announcing your strength, but by deploying it when least expected. Your apparent weakness is not your truth, it's your ultimate tactical advantage. Cultivate it, use it, strike from within it. Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you about the most decisive battlefield of all, the battlefield of perception. He who defines the frame of reality controls the outcome of every engagement. This isn't just about perspective, it's about who holds the power to define what victory and defeat mean. Here's what most people don't understand. Reality isn't fixed. It's a territory conquered by those who understand the art of framing every situation, every challenge, every seeming defeat. These aren't objective facts. They're positions to be taken, territory to be claimed, battles to be framed on your terms. In ancient warfare, we understood that the side who defined the terms of engagement had already achieved half the victory. Your position isn't just where you stand. It's how you define the entire battlefield. The frame through which a challenge is viewed determines who holds the tactical advantage. Think about your current challenges, the obstacles you face, the battles that seem overwhelming. Now imagine if instead of accepting how these situations are framed, you learn to redefine them entirely on your terms. Let me ask you this. What if your current challenges aren't what others say they are? What if every obstacle you face is actually an opportunity waiting to be reframed? What if the power to define reality is the ultimate strategic advantage? The superior warrior understands that controlling the frame isn't about denial. It's about strategic definition. Like a general choosing the ground on which to fight, you must learn to choose the context in which your battles are understood, but most people never grasp this power. They accept the frames given to them by others. Fight on territory defined by their opponents, measure victory and defeat by standards they didn't choose. They surrender the most crucial advantage before the battle even begins. Consider this. Throughout history, the most decisive victories weren't won through superior force. They were won by those who successfully defined what victory meant. The commander who controls the frame controls the outcome. The process of controlling the frame requires systematic mastery. Recognize existing frames. What definitions are you accepting without question? Whose standards are you measuring against? What assumptions frame your current challenges? Challenge default perspectives. Are these frames serving your mission? Do they align with your strategic objectives? What alternative definitions exist? Establish strategic frames. Define situations on your terms. Set standards that serve your objectives. Create contexts that give you tactical advantage. This is where most warriors fail. They either accept frames unconsciously, never realizing they can be changed, or they resist existing frames without establishing new ones. Both approaches surrender strategic advantage. The superior approach is this: treat every situation like territory to be claimed through strategic framing. Don't just reject existing frames. Establish new ones that serve your mission. When facing challenges, don't just react, reframe. What other ways can this situation be defined? What perspective gives you tactical advantage? How can this challenge be transformed into opportunity? Think of it this way. A general who accepts the enemy's definition of the battlefield soon finds himself fighting at a disadvantage. Your power to reframe situations is your power to choose the ground on which you fight. The superior warrior develops a systematic approach to frame control. First, master frame recognition. Learn to see the invisible frameworks that shape how situations are understood. Like a master strategist reading terrain, you must learn to read the mental landscapes that define reality. Next, develop frame sovereignty. Question inherited perspectives, challenge assumed limitations, test accepted definitions, then establish strategic frames, define situations to your advantage, create contexts that serve your mission, set standards that align with your objectives. Finally, maintain frame control, consistently reinforce your definitions, resist alternative frames that disadvantage you, keep battles on territory. you've defined. Remember this, the frame isn't just how you see things. It's the strategic context that determines who has the advantage. Every situation is an opportunity to establish frames that serve your mission. The world is full of people who fight battles on territory defined by others, who measure themselves against standards they didn't choose, who accept limitations they didn't create. But you're becoming something different, something more powerful, something truly unstoppable. Because you understand that true power isn't in fighting within existing frames. It's in establishing new ones. It's not in accepting reality as presented. It's in defining reality on your terms. Your challenges are not what others say they are. They're what you define them to be. Use this power. Master this art. Command this territory. The process is precise. Recognize existing frames. Understand how current situations are being defined. Evaluate strategic impact. Assess how these frames serve or hinder your mission. Establish new frames. Define situations in ways that give you tactical advantage. Maintain frame control. Hold your position against attempts to redefine the territory. Your power to define reality is not philosophical. It's tactical. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to establish frames that serve your mission. Every obstacle is a chance to define the battlefield on your terms. The time for accepting others' frames is over. The era of fighting on territory you didn't choose ends now. Take up your position, warrior. Your power to define reality is not just perspective. It's your supreme tactical advantage. Every situation is territory to be claimed through strategic framing. Every challenge is an opportunity to establish advantageous context. Every battle is a chance to define victory on your terms. This is how you become invincible, not by fighting better within existing frames, but by establishing new ones. Not by accepting reality as presented, but by defining it strategically. Not by playing the game, but by setting its rules. Your power to frame reality is not just mental, it's tactical. Master this art, command this territory, define your battlefield. Now, let us speak of a truth that most warriors never grasp. Humility is not weakness, it's invincibility. Not the false humility that seeks approval, but the strategic humility that makes you impossible to defeat. This is the wisdom that separates true masters from mere performers. Here's what most people don't understand. Ego isn't power, it's vulnerability. Every time you need to prove your worth, announce your strength, or defend your position, you're actually exposing weaknesses that can be exploited. True power moves in silence, learns endlessly, and remains impossible to fully gauge. In ancient warfare, we understood that the general who needs to prove his brilliance has already begun to lose. Your ego is not your ally. It's a fortress made of glass, impressive to look at, but dangerous to depend upon. Think about where your ego demands satisfaction. The times you need to be right, the moments you must be recognized, the situations where you can't stand to be underestimated. Now imagine if instead of serving these demands, you learned to use humility as invincible armor. Let me ask you this. What if your need to prove yourself is actually proof of what you still fear? What if every ego-driven action is actually revealing insecurities that your enemies can exploit? The superior warrior understands that true humility isn't about thinking less of yourself, it's about thinking of yourself less. Like water that takes any shape but cannot be destroyed, true humility makes you adaptable, yet undefeatable. But most people never grasp this principle. They mistake confidence for arrogance, strength for display, leadership for dominance. They build fortresses of ego that become their own prisons, create displays of power that become their vulnerabilities. Consider this. Throughout history, the most enduring victories weren't won by those who needed to prove themselves, they were won by those who remained humble enough to learn, adapt, and outlast their ego-driven opponents. The process of cultivating strategic humility requires deep understanding. Recognize ego's traps. When do you need to prove yourself? Where do you defend your image? What triggers your need for recognition? Understand true strength. Power doesn't need to prove itself. Wisdom doesn't need to announce itself. Mastery doesn't need to display itself. Develop strategic humility. Learn. From everything, prove nothing. Let results speak. This is where most warriors fail. They either mistake humility for weakness, or they practice false humility as another form of ego. Both approaches miss the strategic advantage of true humility. The superior approach is this: treat humility as invisible armor. Don't just suppress your ego, transcend it. Let humility become your unassailable position. When others boast, remain silent. Let them expose their insecurities. Let them reveal their vulnerabilities. Let them exhaust themselves with display. Think of it this way: a fortified position doesn't need to announce its strength. Your humility is your fortification, making you impossible to effectively attack because you offer no ego to wound. The superior warrior develops a systematic approach to strategic humility. First, master ego recognition. Learn to spot your own ego's demands with unfailing accuracy. Like a general identifying potential weaknesses in his defense, you must learn to see where ego makes you vulnerable. Next, develop quiet strength. Build power without announcement. Develop skills without display. Advance without fanfare. Then, cultivate strategic invisibility. Let others underestimate you. Allow your achievements to speak. Maintain adaptability through humility. Finally, establish unassailable position. Need nothing from others' opinions. Find security in constant growth. Remain humble in victory and defeat. Remember this: humility isn't a moral virtue. It's a strategic position of immense power. It makes you impossible to provoke, impossible to properly gauge, and impossible to defeat. The world is full of people who exhaust themselves trying to prove their worth, who build elaborate ego fortifications, who need constant recognition to feel secure. But you're becoming something different, something more powerful, something truly unstoppable, because you understand that true power isn't in displaying strength. It's in having nothing to prove. It's not in being recognized as powerful. It's in being impossible to defeat. Your humility is not your weakness. It's your invincible position. Use this principle. Master this art. Command this territory. The process is precise. Release the need to prove yourself. Let actions speak louder than claims. Learn from everything and everyone. Every situation becomes your teacher. Build power in silence. Let results reveal your strength. Maintain strategic humility. Stay impossible to defeat through ego. Your ego is not your ally. It's your vulnerability. Every need to prove yourself is a weak point in your defense. Every display of superiority is a gap in your armor. Every arrogant moment is a target for your enemies. The time for ego-driven action is over. The era of needing to prove yourself ends now. Take up your position, warrior. Your humility is not your submission. It's your strategic invincibility. Every moment of learning makes you stronger. Every instance of listening makes you wiser. Every act of genuine humility makes you more undefeatable. This is how you become invincible. Not by proving your power, but by transcending the need to prove anything. Not by building ego fortifications, but by becoming ego-proof. Not by winning arguments, but by becoming impossible to argue with. Your humility is not your weakness. It's your ultimate tactical advantage. Master this truth. Embody this principle. Become truly undefeatable. There exists a truth in warfare that transcends all others. The rigid break while the fluid prevail, not in theory, but in the actual physics of power. Water, formless, flexible, fluid, carves through mountains, shapes, continents, and outlasts everything that stands against it. This isn't philosophy. It's strategy. Here's what most people don't understand. Strength isn't in holding firm. It's in perfect adaptation. Every fixed position becomes a target. Every rigid stance becomes a weakness. Every unchanging strategy becomes predictable. But water? Water becomes whatever it needs to be. In ancient warfare, we understood that the ultimate power isn't in resistance, it's in response. Your identity isn't your armor, it's your prison. Your unchanging nature isn't your strength, it's your vulnerability. The warrior who cannot adapt cannot survive. Think about where you've become rigid, the beliefs you refuse to question, the habits you can't break, the patterns you can't escape. Now imagine if instead of being frozen in these forms, you could flow like water, taking whatever shape the situation demands. Let me ask you this. What if your greatest strength isn't in standing firm, but in perfect adaptation? What if every fixed position you hold is actually a vulnerability waiting to be exploited? The superior warrior understands that true power lies in formlessness. Like water, they can crash like waves or flow like streams, freeze like ice, or evaporate like mist. They become whatever the battlefield demands. But most people never grasp this principle. They mistake rigidity for strength, stubbornness for power, unchanging nature for character. They build their identities like fortresses only to find themselves trapped within them. Consider this. Throughout history, the most enduring victories weren't won by the strongest. They were won by the most adaptable. The species that survive aren't the most powerful. They're the most responsive to change. The process of becoming fluid requires systematic transformation. Identify your fixed positions. What beliefs do you refuse to question? What habits have become prisons? What aspects of your identity have become rigid? Understand true fluidity. Power flows. It doesn't force, strength adapts. It doesn't resist. Victory comes through perfect response. Develop strategic adaptability, learn to read situations without bias, respond without emotional resistance, transform without internal conflict. This is where most warriors fail. They either mistake adaptability for weakness, or they practice false flexibility while remaining rigid at their core. Both approaches miss the true power of fluidity. The superior approach is this: become like water. Don't just adapt superficially. Transform essentially. Let your very nature become fluid. When facing obstacles, flow around them. Don't waste energy on direct confrontation. Find the path of least resistance. Let natural momentum carry you forward. Think of it this way. Water doesn't fight the mountain. It shapes itself to every crevice, flowing around every obstacle, eventually carving its own path. Your adaptability is your power to reshape any situation through perfect response. The superior warrior develops a systematic approach to fluidity. First, master situational reading. Learn to see circumstances without the filter of fixed beliefs. Like water taking the shape of any container, you must learn to read reality without preconception. Next, develop responsive strength. Adapt without internal resistance. Transform. Without emotional attachment, flow without psychological friction. Then, cultivate strategic formlessness. Hold no fixed positions. Maintain no rigid strategies. Keep no unchangeable plans. Finally, establish fluid power. Become impossible to predict. Remain impossible to counter. Stay impossible to defeat through rigidity. Remember this: fluidity isn't weakness. It's the ultimate form of strength. It makes you impossible to grasp, impossible to counter, and impossible to defeat through conventional means. The world is full of people who build their power on rigid foundations, who stake their security on unchanging positions, who base their strength on fixed identity. But you're becoming something different, something more powerful, something truly unstoppable. Because you understand that true power isn't in standing firm, it's in perfect adaptation. It's not in resisting change, it's in becoming change itself. Your fluidity is not your weakness, it's your invincible position. Master this principle, embody this truth, command this reality. The process is precise. Release rigid positions, let go of fixed beliefs and unchanging strategies, develop perfect responsiveness. Learn to read and adapt to any situation. Master strategic fluidity. Become whatever the battlefield demands. Maintain formless power. Stay impossible to defeat through adaptation. Your rigidity is not your strength, it's your vulnerability. Every fixed position is a weakness waiting to be exploited. Every unchanging strategy is a limitation waiting to be exposed. Every rigid stance is a target waiting to be attacked. The time for unchanging nature is over. The era of fixed position ends now. Take up your true power, warrior. Your fluidity is not your compromise. It's your strategic invincibility. Every situation demands different shapes. Every battle requires different forms. Every victory comes through perfect adaptation. This is how you become invincible. Not by standing firm, but by flowing perfectly. Not by resisting change, but by becoming change itself. Not by holding position, but by maintaining perfect adaptability. Your fluid nature is not your weakness, it's your ultimate tactical advantage. Master this truth, embody this principle, become truly undefeatable, like water, crash when needed, flow when required, evaporate when necessary, and freeze when advantageous. Let no fixed form define you. Let no rigid position limit you. Let no unchanging strategy restrict you. Remember, the highest form of warfare isn't in opposing force with force, it's in perfect adaptation to any force. Be water warrior, be formless, shapeless, limitless. Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you about the most crucial battlefield of all. The war of words that rages within your mind. The voice that speaks to you in moments of challenge isn't just thought, it's command. Every word you tell yourself is either an order for victory or a command for retreat. Here's what most people don't understand. Your internal dialogue isn't just commentary, it's military communication. Every thought you entertain is either strengthening your position or creating vulnerabilities. Every word you speak to yourself is either a battle cry or a surrender signal. In ancient warfare, we understood that an army's communication system determines its effectiveness in battle. Your internal dialogue is your mind's communication network. Corrupt this network, and the strongest army falls into chaos. Perfect it, and even a small force becomes invincible. Think about your current internal dialogue. The words you use when facing challenges, the phrases that repeat in moments of pressure, the mental commands that direct your actions. Now imagine if, instead of letting this communication run on autopilot, you learn to master it with strategic precision. Let me ask you this. What if your self-talk isn't just psychological, it's tactical? What if every word you speak to yourself is actually a military order being transmitted to every cell in your body? The superior warrior understands that internal dialogue isn't just mental chatter, it's command and control. Like a general issuing orders to his troops, your self-talk directs your energy, focus, and response to every situation. But most people never grasp this principle. They let their internal dialogue run wild, filling their mental communication channels with doubt, fear, and retreat orders. They allow enemy propaganda to broadcast freely in their own minds. Consider this. Throughout history, armies with clear, strong communication systems defeated larger forces with corrupted communications. Your internal dialogue is your army's communication system. Master it, and you master the battlefield. The process of commanding your internal dialogue requires systematic control. Recognize current communications. What messages repeat in your mind? What orders do you give yourself? What strategic direction does your self-talk provide? Identify destructive transmissions. Which thoughts signal retreat? Which words weaken your position? Which mental messages sabotage your advance? Establish command protocols. Create clear mental orders. Develop strategic self-commands. Institute powerful battle language. This is where most warriors fail. They either ignore their internal dialogue completely or they try to silence it through force. Both approaches surrender the tactical advantage of controlled communication. The superior approach is this. Treat your self-talk like military communications. Don't just monitor it, command it. Make every internal word serve your strategic objectives. When facing challenges, issue clear orders. Replace "I can't" with "I command." Transform "I'm afraid" into "I'm advancing." Convert "I'm overwhelmed" into "I'm engaging." Think of it this way. A general whose communication system broadcasts doubt to his troops has already lost. Your internal dialogue is either rallying your forces or signaling surrender. The superior warrior develops a systematic approach to mental command. First, master communication awareness. Learn to monitor your internal dialogue with unfailing attention. Like a general monitoring battlefield communications, you must know exactly what messages are being transmitted in your mind. Next, develop command language. Create clear, powerful orders. Establish strategic battle phrases. Design tactical response commands. Then, institute communication discipline. Eliminate weak transmissions. Cut off retreat signals. Maintain strategic focus. Finally, establish complete command. Issue clear tactical orders. Maintain powerful battle communications. Control all mental transmissions. Remember this, your internal dialogue isn't just thought, it's tactical communication. Every word either strengthens your position or creates vulnerability. Every phrase either advances your mission or signals retreat. The world is full of people who let their internal dialogue run wild, who allow mental chaos to corrupt their command system, who surrender control of their most crucial communications. But you're becoming something different, something more powerful, something truly unstoppable, because you understand that true power isn't in having no thoughts. It's in commanding every thought. It's not in silencing the mind. It's in directing it with strategic precision. Your internal dialogue is not random chatter. It's your command center. Master this system. Control these communications. Direct these transmissions. The process is precise. Monitor all mental communications. Know exactly what messages are being transmitted. Eliminate weak transmissions. Cut off all retreat orders and surrender signals. Install powerful command protocols. Create clear strategic battle language. Maintain communication discipline. Keep all mental channels focused on victory. Your undisciplined thoughts are not just mental noise. They're tactical vulnerabilities. Every weak word is a gap in your defenses. Every negative phrase is a breach in your walls. Every doubting thought is an enemy transmission. The time for mental chaos is over. The era of undisciplined thought ends now. Take up your command, warrior. Your internal dialogue is not just psychology, it's your strategic communication system. Every word is an order. Every thought is a command. Every internal message is a tactical transmission. This is how you become invincible, not by silencing the mind, but by commanding it, not by avoiding thought, but by directing it, not by hoping for the best, but by issuing clear orders for victory. Your internal dialogue is not your enemy, it's your command center. Master these communications. Control these transmissions. Command your mental battlefield. Understand this fundamental truth about power. Greatness is not spontaneous. It is structured, not through random bursts of motivation, but through unchanging rituals of power. The highest achievements in warfare weren't won through sporadic effort. They were forged through relentless, ritualized discipline. Here's what most people don't understand. Motivation is not reliable. Ritual is invincible. Every great warrior throughout history built their power not on temporary inspiration, but on unbreakable daily practices. Your rituals aren't just habits, they're your daily military drills. In ancient warfare, we understood that an army's strength wasn't built in battle, it was built in daily training. Your morning ritual isn't just routine, it's your personal war ceremony. Your daily practices aren't just tasks, they're power ceremonies that forge your inevitable victory. Think about your current rituals, the ways you begin your day, the patterns you follow, the practices you maintain or neglect. Now imagine if instead of leaving these to chance, you engineered them with the precision of a military strategist. Let me ask you this. What if your daily rituals aren't just routines, they're power ceremonies? What if every structured practice isn't just discipline? It's a tactical advantage being built one day at a time. The superior warrior understands that true power isn't built in moments of inspiration. It's forged in unchanging ritual, like a sword hammered daily on the anvil. Your strength is built through repeated, precise, unwavering practice. But most people never grasp this principle. They rely on motivation, wait for inspiration, depend on mood. They try to build power through sporadic effort, never understanding that true strength comes through ritualized practice. Consider this. Throughout history, the most formidable warriors weren't those with the most talent, they were those with the most structured, unbreakable rituals. Your daily practices are either building your power or ensuring your defeat. The process of building power rituals requires systematic approach. Identify current patterns. How do you begin each day? What practices do you maintain? What rituals currently shape your life? Engineer power ceremonies, design morning battle preparations, create daily strength practices, establish evening review rituals, install unbreakable protocols, make them non-negotiable. Remove decision fatigue, eliminate mood dependency. This is where most warriors fail. They either resist structure as limitation, or they create rituals too complex to maintain. Both approaches miss the power of simple, unbreakable practice. The superior approach is this. Treat your daily rituals like military drills. Don't just practice them, engineer them. Make them so simple they cannot fail, so powerful they cannot be ignored. Your morning ritual is your battle preparation. Wake at the same time without negotiation. Perform your power ceremonies without question. Begin each day as a warrior preparing for war. Think of it this way, an army that trains only when inspired soon faces defeat. Your rituals are your daily training ground, building power whether you feel motivated or not. The superior warrior develops a systematic approach to ritual. First, master the morning ceremony. Rise before the enemy, your weaker self. Perform physical training without question. Execute mental preparation without fail. Review your strategic objectives without excuse. Next, establish daily power practices. Regular tactical training, consistent skill building, unwavering discipline maintenance. Then, create evening review protocols. Analyze the day's battles. Extract strategic lessons. Prepare tomorrow's objectives. Finally, maintain ritual integrity. No negotiation with weakness, no compromise with mood, no surrender to circumstance. Remember this, your rituals aren't just habits, they're your power ceremonies. Every morning practice is either building your strength or ensuring your defeat. Every daily ritual is either forging your victory or preparing your surrender. The world is full of people who wait for motivation, who depend on mood, who build their practice on unreliable inspiration. But you're becoming something different, something more powerful, something truly unstoppable, because you understand that true power isn't built through sporadic effort. It's forged through unchanging ritual. It's not created through motivation. It's built through structured, unbreakable practice. Your rituals are not limitations. They're your power foundations. Master these ceremonies, command these practices, own these protocols. The process is precise. Design simple, unbreakable rituals. Make them impossible to fail. Execute without negotiation. Remove all decision points. Maintain absolute consistency. Build power through perfect repetition. Protect ritual integrity. Never compromise your power practices. Your lack of ritual is not freedom. It's tactical vulnerability. Every morning without ceremony is a battle begun in weakness. Every day without practice is power left unbuilt. Every evening without review is intelligence lost. The time for sporadic effort is over. The era of motivation-dependent practice ends now. Take up your ceremonies, warrior. Your rituals are not routine. They're your path to unstoppable power. Every morning is a power ceremony. Every practice is a strength protocol. Every ritual is a victory foundation. This is how you become invincible. Not through sporadic effort, but through unchanging ritual. Not through temporary motivation, but through permanent practice. Not through inspiration, but through unbreakable ceremony. Your rituals are not your limitations. They're your path to power. Master these ceremonies. Own these practices. Command these protocols. Remember, greatness isn't built in moments of inspiration. It's forged in daily ritual. The warrior who trains only when motivated will never match the one who trains without. Question: who practices without negotiation? Who builds power through perfect, unbreakable ceremony? Now, let us speak of a truth that most warriors never grasp. Failure isn't defeat, it's intelligence. Not the simple recording of what went wrong, but the strategic extraction of battle data that makes your next advance unstoppable. Every loss is a live-fire drill, every setback a tactical simulation. Here's what most people don't understand. Failure isn't your enemy, it's your most thorough teacher. Every defeat, every setback, every moment of loss, these aren't just experiences to endure. They're intelligence reports from the front lines of your potential. In ancient warfare, we understood that battles aren't just won or lost, they're studied. Your failures aren't just defeats, they're detailed maps of where your strategy needs strengthening. Every loss contains precise intelligence about your next victory. Think about your recent failures, the defeats that sting, the setbacks that shame you, the losses that keep you awake. Now imagine if instead of trying to forget them, you learn to study them with the precision of a military strategist. Let me ask you this: what if your failures aren't showing you your weaknesses, but revealing exactly where your next breakthrough awaits? What if every defeat isn't a judgment of your capability, but a precision target for your next advance? The superior warrior understands that failure isn't just an event, it's intelligence gathering. Like a general studying battlefield reports, you must learn to extract tactical data from every defeat. But most people never grasp this principle. They either try to forget their failures as quickly as possible, or they let defeats define them permanently. Both approaches waste the strategic value of failure's intelligence. Consider this. Throughout history, the most decisive victories were often built on the foundation of previous defeats, but only by those who knew how to extract and apply failure's lessons. The process of failing intelligently requires systematic analysis. Document the defeat. What exactly went wrong? Where did the strategy fail? What assumptions proved false? Extract tactical intelligence. What vulnerabilities were exposed? What strengths were confirmed? What intelligence was gained? Convert data to strategy. How can this intelligence be applied? What tactical adjustments are needed? What strategic reforms must be made? This is where most warriors fail twice. First in the initial defeat, then in failing to extract its value. They either avoid analyzing their failures out of shame, or they study them with emotion instead of strategic interest. The superior approach is this: treat every failure like a military simulation. Don't just experience it, study it. Extract every piece of intelligence it offers. Convert every defeat into tactical advantage. When facing failure, analyze with precision. What exactly triggered the defeat? Where exactly did execution falter? What exactly needs to be reformed? Think of it this way: a general who burns battle reports out of shame soon repeats the same defeats. Your failures are intelligence documents. Study them with strategic focus. The superior warrior develops a systematic approach to failure analysis. First, master immediate response. Document everything while fresh record without emotional filtering. Capture all tactical details. Next, conduct strategic review. Analyze with military precision. Extract actionable intelligence. Identify critical failure points. Then, develop tactical reforms. Create specific adjustments. Design new protocols. Establish reformed strategies. Finally, implement. Strategic learning. Apply extracted intelligence, execute reformed protocols, advance with updated tactics. Remember this, failure isn't your enemy, it's your intelligence service. Every defeat contains critical data about your next victory. Every setback offers precise intelligence about necessary reforms. The world is full of people who run from their failures, who hide from their defeats, who let setbacks define their limitations. But you're becoming something different, something more powerful, something truly unstoppable, because you understand that true power isn't in avoiding failure, it's in extracting its complete tactical value. It's not in being undefeated, it's in becoming unstoppable through intelligent failure. Your defeats are not your destiny, they're your tactical feedback. Study this intelligence. Extract these lessons. Apply this data. The process is precise. Document every failure completely. Capture all tactical details. Analyze without emotion. Extract pure strategic intelligence. Convert data to strategy. Transform lessons into protocols. Implement with precision. Execute reformed tactics without delay. Your failures are not your shame. They're your strategic advantage. Every defeat contains precise intelligence about necessary improvements. Every setback offers exact data about required reforms. Every loss presents specific intelligence about needed changes. The time for emotional failure is over. The era of wasteful defeat ends now. Take up your analysis, warrior. Your failures are not your limitations. They're your tactical simulations. Every defeat is a data point. Every setback is a strategic lesson. Every failure is a future victory being mapped. This is how you become invincible. Not by avoiding failure, but by failing intelligently. Not by fearing defeat, but by extracting its value. Not by being perfect, but by becoming perfectly adapted through strategic failure. Your defeats are not your weakness. They're your warfare academy. Study these lessons. Extract this intelligence. Command this knowledge. Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you about the most overlooked weapon in your arsenal. Silence. Not the simple absence of sound, but the strategic power of calculated restraint. Noise is weakness. Stillness is control. This isn't philosophy, it's tactical advantage. Here's what most people don't understand. Silence isn't passive, it's power condensed. Every word not spoken is energy preserved. Every reaction withheld is strength maintained. Every quiet moment isn't empty. It's loaded with tactical potential. In ancient warfare, we understood that the warrior who must announce his strength has already shown his weakness. Your silence isn't just discipline, it's camouflage. Your stillness isn't just peace, it's perfect position for decisive action. Think about where you waste energy through noise. The reactions that drain your power, the words that reveal your position, the emotional outbursts that expose your strategy. Now imagine if instead of leaking power through noise, you learned to harness the tactical advantage of perfect silence. Let me ask you this. What if your greatest strength isn't in what you express, but in what you strategically withhold? What if every unnecessary word, every uncontrolled reaction, every emotional noise is actually depleting your tactical advantage? The superior warrior understands that silence isn't just restraint, it's strategic position. Like a sniper maintaining perfect stillness, your silence gives you the power to choose the perfect moment for action. But most people never grasp this principle. They leak power through constant noise, reveal position through uncontrolled reaction, surrender advantage through emotional outburst. They mistake expression for power, never understanding that true strength often lies in strategic silence. Consider this. Throughout history, the most decisive victories weren't won through superior noise. They were won through superior silence. The ability to wait, watch, and strike from stillness has defeated countless noisy opponents. The process of mastering strategic silence requires systematic control. Identify power leaks. Where do you react unnecessarily? When do you speak without tactical purpose? How do you reveal position through noise? Understand silence's power. stillness as strategic advantage, restraint as strength preservation, quiet as tactical position, develop silent strength. Master emotional, stillness, perfect tactical quiet. Control strategic position, this is where most warriors fail. They either mistake silence for weakness or they practice false quiet while remaining internally noisy. Both approaches miss the tactical advantage of true strategic silence. The superior approach is this: treat silence as a weapon. Don't just be quiet, be strategically still. Don't just withhold words. Maintain perfect tactical position. When others react, maintain stillness. Let them reveal their position. Let them deplete their energy. Let them expose their strategy. Think of it this way: an arrow in flight makes no noise. Your silence is your perfect trajectory, maintaining complete tactical advantage until the moment of impact. The superior warrior develops a systematic approach to strategic silence. First, master internal quiet. Still the mind's unnecessary noise. Calm the emotions' wasteful outbursts. Control the spirit's leaked energy. Next, develop tactical stillness, perfect position maintenance, strategic advantage, preservation, power conservation mastery. Then, cultivate silent strength. Build power without. Announcement, develop force without display, maintain control without noise. Finally, establish perfect position, ready without revelation, powerful without proclamation, deadly without declaration. Remember this: silence isn't weakness, it's concentrated power. Every controlled reaction is energy preserved. Every withheld word is position maintained. Every moment of stillness is tactical advantage accumulated. The world is full of people who leak power through noise, who waste strength through reaction, who surrender position through emotional outburst. But you're becoming something different, something more powerful, something truly unstoppable. Because you understand that true power isn't in constant expression, it's in perfect strategic silence. It's not in reactive noise, it's in controlled stillness. Your silence is not emptiness, it's tactical advantage. Master this weapon, command this power, own this position. The process is precise. Control unnecessary noise. Eliminate tactical position leaks. Master strategic stillness. Maintain perfect readiness without revelation. Develop silent power. Build strength without announcement. Perfect position control. Stay ready without revealing readiness. Your noise is not power, it's tactical vulnerability. Every unnecessary word is position revealed. Every uncontrolled reaction is advantage surrendered. Every emotional outburst is strategy exposed. The time for wasteful expression is over. The era of reactive noise ends now. Take up your position, warrior. Your silence is not weakness. It's your perfect tactical advantage. Every controlled reaction is power preserved. Every strategic silence is position maintained. Every moment of stillness is advantage accumulated. This is how you become invincible. Not through superior noise, but through perfect silence. Not through constant expression, but through strategic stillness. Not through emotional reaction, but through tactical control. Your silence is not your limitation, it's your ultimate weapon. Master this stillness. Command this quiet. Own this power. Remember, the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting, and the supreme art of power is to achieve victory without noise. Be still, warrior. Be silent. Be unstoppable. Now, warrior, we arrive at the ultimate truth, one that transforms everything you've learned into unstoppable force. You are the weapon, not your skills, not your strategies, not your tactics. You were never broken. You were never weak. You were being forged, tempered, and sharpened into something that has never existed before. Here's what most people don't understand. Every challenge you've faced, every defeat you've endured, every moment of doubt you've pushed through, these weren't breaking you. They were building you. Your struggles weren't punishment. They were your forging ground. In ancient warfare, we understood that the greatest weapon isn't the sword. It's the warrior who has been tempered by 1,000 Battles. Your past isn't your burden, it's your arsenal. Your challenges aren't your obstacles, they're your proving grounds. Think about everything you've overcome, every battle you've fought, every defeat you've survived, every victory you've claimed. Now understand this truth. These weren't random events. They were your forging process, creating a weapon that has never before existed in the history of warfare. Let me ask you this. What if everything you thought was breaking you was actually building you? What if every moment of weakness was actually a strength being forged? What if you aren't broken? You'll become precisely what you need to be. The superior warrior understands that they themselves are the ultimate weapon. Like a sword forged in the hottest fires, tested in the fiercest battles, you have been shaped by every challenge you've faced. But most people never grasp this principle. They forever seek external solutions, outside strategies, new tactics, never realizing that they themselves are becoming the ultimate solution. They search for weapons while being forged into one. Consider this. Throughout history, the most formidable warriors weren't those with the best weapons. They were those who had become weapons themselves. Every challenge they faced, every battle they fought, every defeat they endured, all of it was part of their forging process. Your entire journey has been systematic weapon creation, the forging phase. Every challenge heated you, every pressure shaped you, every defeat tempered you, the tempering process. Each recovery strengthened you, each return hardened you, each adaptation refined you, the sharpening ritual. Every lesson honed you, every insight focused you, every victory proved you. This is where most warriors fail. They either break under pressure, never realizing it's forging them, or they resist their challenges, fighting the very process that's strengthening them. The superior approach is this. Understand that you are becoming the weapon. Don't just face challenges, let them forge you. Don't just endure pressure, let it shape you. Don't just survive defeats, let them temper you. Everything you've faced has served a purpose. Your struggles have strengthened you. Your challenges have shaped you. Your defeats have tempered you. Think of it this way. A sword doesn't question the heat that forges it, the hammer that shapes it, or the stone that sharpens it. Your challenges aren't your enemies. They're your crafting tools. The superior warrior develops a systematic understanding of their own forging. First, recognize the process. See challenges as forging fires. View pressure as shaping force. Understand defeats as tempering moments. Next, embrace the transformation. Welcome the heat that strengthens. Accept the pressure that shapes. Embrace the defeats that temper. Then, direct your development. Choose your forging fires. Select your shaping challenges. Control your tempering process. Finally, maintain your edge. Stay in the fight that strengthens you. Engage the battles that sharpen you. Seek the challenges that refine you. Remember this, you are not broken. You are being built. Every challenge is part of your construction. Every pressure is part of your shaping. Every defeat is part of your tempering. The world is full of people who break under pressure, who shatter in the face of challenge, who crack under the weight of defeat. But you're becoming something different, something more powerful, something truly unstoppable, because you understand that true power isn't in what you have, it's in what you've become. It's not in your tools, it's in your transformation. You are not damaged, you're dangerous. Master this truth, own this power, command this reality. The process never ends. Stay in the forge. Keep facing the fires that strengthen you. Welcome the hammer. Embrace the pressures that shape you. Seek the stone. Engage the challenges that sharpen you. Maintain your edge. Never stop becoming more refined. Your challenges are not your enemies. They're your crafting tools. Every pressure is creative force. Every defeat is tempering fire. Every challenge is shaping power. The time for doubt is over. The era of weakness ends now. Take up your truth, warrior. You are not broken. You are becoming unstoppable. Every challenge is your forging fire. Every pressure is your shaping force. Every defeat is your tempering moment. This is how you become invincible. Not by having the best weapons, but by becoming one. Not by avoiding challenges, but by letting them forge you. Not by fearing pressure, but by letting it shape you into something deadly. You are not your past failures. You are everything they built you to become. Own this truth. Command this power. Become the weapon you were always meant to be. Remember, you were never broken. You were building. Now rise, warrior. Your time is now.